Be yourself, love your audience, and do your homework. To me, that is character, compassion, and content. To me, that answers the three questions. Can I trust you? Your character will determine that. You care for me personally? Your love for them will determine that. And do you know what you're talking about? Your homework. Have you done the job? Are you prepared when you go in?
The From Busy to Rich podcast helps financial advisors by providing strategies and insights that will not only change your life, but practice.
Well, welcome everybody to the From Busy to Rich podcast. I'm here today. Justin is not with us. He's with us. He's not off the planet, but he's just not with us today. And so you get me, and I actually get to do something that is very fun for me. I get to ask the questions. We have a very special guest on here, Dr. Randy Marshall. I've known Randy for I was calculating, Randy, it's been about 22 years. And I was, I'm 48 now, so I was a much younger man at that time. And Randy, you and I met when I was just a couple of years into the financial services business, where my biggest aspiration was to sleep indoors and eat on a regular basis. So I heard you speak at the career development conference that you used to be just frequent at when they had them, and and it just really altered a lot of the way that I thought. And I'll never forget a couple things. And first, Randy, I want to say I admire your persistence, because you you've been just pestering me for weeks and months. I know finally I gave in.
You relented.
That is, of course, not the way it went down, but I deeply appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being on the show today.
I had the opportunity and the privilege to do 220 of those career development conferences over a 22, 23-year period. And you were one of the bright stars that came out of that. So you are, and remain a kind of a hero of mine in the business. And there were a lot of times I look back and, I remember those days, those early days, and take a look at me now, that old country song. There you are. And that's you, Wes. So I'm proud of you. You've done a great job, and it's a privilege to be with you today.
Well, I sure appreciate it. Yeah, I was thinking back before I know we got some specific things we want to cover today. Theme of our podcast, Randy, is always to inspire advisors to increase profitability and quality of life, not just for themselves, but for all those that they're serving. But I did want to take a second, because I think this is so important. I don't know if you know that you often have a problem with lying to me. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to inform me of my faux pas.
Yeah, I am.
Good. I need
Because
help.
you always, usually the first time I ask you to do something or with me, you say no. But I've learned you don't really mean no, because I just keep asking and showing up, and then eventually you say yes. And I remember the very first time I reached out to you, I had heard you at Leaders for Life. I emailed you, because that's all I had to get to you. And I asked, and I didn't know. I'm sure I could have set this up, and we're going to talk about persuasion today and the gentle art of it. But there must have been a better approach to this. But I said, hey, Randy, would you, I'm like 24, 25 years old, something like that. I'd love hearing you talk. Made a big impact on me. Would you consider mentoring me? And it was a couple weeks later, because I think that's back in the day when we could check email every couple weeks. And and you emailed me back and you said, no, Wes, no, I don't really do that, but I will meet you for a beer at Chili's, and we can talk about something. And the funny thing is, we met at that Chili's a whole lot after that meeting, and we talked on the phone a bunch, and you came here and I went there. So I just want to say thanks for being the best non-mentor mentor that I read, because a lot of what you did sounds exactly like what a mentor does. Uh, but I've learned just to get past your no.
Well, it boiled down to the fact that I tried to figure out whether you just had great persistence or you were just an obnoxious pest. And,
Probably both.
and I have come to the conclusion that you are both, and you do it very well. But there is a streak in you that's extremely nice. And I used to be a kid at one time. Now I'm an old codger. But as a kid, I used to say, my teacher's really nice. And I still think that's a high praise at my age. I just turned 79. And when people are nice, it goes a long way with me. And I think you're really nice. So there you go. What goes
I
around
love
comes
it.
around. It's all back to the same thing. Uh,
I love it.
yeah, you really were persistent, but you were gracious about it too. So it's great to be with you today.
Yeah, you too. And this is going to be a lot of fun, Randy. I know we want to talk about persuasion, and you and I were kind of talking a little bit about what we mean by that at the beginning of
Hmm.
this. And I think a couple things, if you can tee that up for us, but just for a second before you do, because you have such a fascinating like journey through your life from baseball to ministry to speaking in the corporate world and all the things that you do now in the Ukraine and all the different things that you do. I would love it if you could just speak for a second on that, give a brief history, because you are a Renaissance man. You've done quite a bit of things across time. So I'd love it if you could tell everybody a little bit about that.
I appreciate that. I don't know how to spell Renaissance, but that's beside the point. Been married, highest claim to fame because she still keeps the door unlocked for me. With Kathy, is been 5 decades and counting, 52 years. We have three great kids, 12 grandkids. So that's been teaching me a lot of life lessons. I did have an opportunity to graduate with an MA and then a PhD in communications, which is what I want to talk about today, because I think it's the lifeblood of any relationship, and
Yeah.
business is about relationships. So I want to talk about kind of some summary things that I've learned there. But I was in graduate school. I became a Christian in graduate school under the ministry of Campus Crusade, and it totally changed the trajectory of my life. I then decided to go to seminary, got married 2 weeks later after the ceremony. We were in Portland, Oregon, where I got a master's in theology, stayed on and taught there communications. And prior to that, I played baseball with the Kansas City Royals, played 4 years with that organization till a guy named Brett came along. Uh, he's in the Hall of Fame now, and I'm with you on this podcast. So
It's
that ought to
basically
tell you
the
something.
same.
Yeah, yeah. I'd rather be here with you than the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Yeah, big deal. So uh, I then joined a church in Dallas, became their pastor, senior pastor, worked for the senior pastor for 13 years, and then decided that I wanted to speak for a living. Got acquainted with New York Life. My father-in-law, who died not long ago at 104, was a legend with New York Life. And so I had an opportunity to meet some people that he knew, Mike Reeves, a bunch of great people. And they said, "Do you speak?" And I said, "I do." And one thing led to another. And we started Nyack University back in the day. And so a couple of hundred conferences later with agents, 22,000 of them, and a lot of management folks. Here I am, worked in missions. Today, I work primarily with Ukrainians. Have been doing that since 2010. Taught at a couple seminaries there, and I'm involved with the refugees. I was 5 days before the incursion where Russia came in, and so I've been very much in love with the Ukrainian people, and we work now in the countries where they are refugees in Europe and Canada, working with some in the United States. My health situation is such that I haven't gone back overseas for a while, taking some treatments here in Dallas, but that takes you up to date. So it's been a good checkered past. I've enjoyed it, and a lot of different variety along the way, but very blessed, very blessed.
I love that, and I am super excited about talking about communication because you certainly very graciously, when I would send you a talk I did, or you would give me some great books, and then you would give me some great advice, and helped really shape so much of what I do every day, and I think it was clearly most people do in some form, in a variety of different capacities, but. Let's dive in because I can't wait to just go over this topic with you. It's one of my favorite things to talk about with you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think um, you know one of the statements that I believe in very strongly in marriage or in business is the commitment will hold a relationship together. There's no doubt about it. And we live in a throwaway relationship era right now. But commitment will hold the relationship together, but only communication gives it life. And so I think that the lifeblood of any relationship is to be able to talk so people will listen, and to be able to do that in what I call a gentle persuasion, moving people to action with proper reflection. We're all in a persuasive business, whether it is in a pulpit or whether it is as a New York Life agent or in any financial service. You're dealing with people, and people buy real people. People go wild over reality in people. And so, what I wanted to talk about today was some of the lessons that I've learned over the years on how to talk so people will listen. And as you know, there's three stages in the communication process. There's the speaker, there's the message, and there's the audience. And I think there's some takeaway items in each one of those I'd like to cover briefly. And my job is to get people to think. And I appreciate being on the podcast to hopefully stir the thoughts of people to become better at being able to get their point across so that people will buy them. Because let's face it, you are the message, but how you deliver that message is extraordinarily important. First and foremost, and we can hitchhike on this and go down deep, or you can change topics, it doesn't matter. But the speaker, the person that actually delivers the message. And here's what I've learned over these many years. People are really asking three questions. Question number one, can I trust you? Question number two, do you care for me personally? And question number three is, do you know what you're talking about? And what I've discovered is that those come in order. You cannot move from one to the other unless you've taken care of the one that precedes it. In other words, can I trust you? If you can't be trusted, you can forget about whether people care about you. They're not going to do business with you, and they're not going to give you the time of day. Can I trust you? Do you care for me personally? Do you know what you're talking about? Um, in literally in college, I learned in the communications end of life that Aristotle hit it right on target. Aristotle said a person has to be one of character, a person has to be one of compassion, and a person has to be one of content. Now, he said it in a different way. He used the three Greek terms, ethos, pathos, and logos, but I found that that's absolutely true. And what I've connected in terms of being able to come across as believable, which is the key, that I believe your message, I believe in you, you are the message, is that to answer the first question, can I trust you, is a matter of character. It's a matter of passing the smell test. It's a matter of honesty. It's a matter of integrity. What you see is really what you get. There's a second one, that ethos or that ethic is translated then into pathos or empathy, or what I would say is compassion. And people really want to know, do you care about me? It's that old adage and that old cliche, people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care, is absolutely true. And so, do you have presentation fatigue, or do you really care about me personally? And people sense that right away. And then finally, and last, but people kind of put this before the other two too many times, is the issue of content. Um, do you know what you're talking about? Are you a professional? Have you studied? Have you done your homework? And if I could have a bumper sticker on the first one on speaking, it would be on the speaker. It would uh, be yourself, love your audience, and do your homework. To me, that is character, compassion, and content. To me, that answers the three questions. Can I trust you? Your character will determine that. Do you care for me personally? Your love for them will determine that. And do you know what you're talking about? Your homework. Have you done the job? Are you prepared when you go in? So when you're talking about the speaker, uh, you're really talking about some amazing things that happen non-verbally. 26 signal systems we give off, 25 are non-verbal. And it's how you say what you say. It's your tone of voice, it's your physiology, it's your body language. More important than even the content, believe it or not, because ethos and pathos comes through body language and tone of voice. Let me put it like this: how you look and how you sound has more impact on people than the words you say. And most people don't believe that, but it's really true. How you come across non-verbally trumps anything you say verbally. And so I say it this way: the heart has reasons the mind does not understand. It's true in a relationship, it's true in sales, it's true in management. The heart knows. The heart has reasons the mind does not understand, because out of the heart, your soul, your mind, emotions, and your will comes life. Out of the heart comes the issues of life, the scripture says, and that's absolutely true. So that's the first one. It's who you are, um, that matters the most before you ever meet somebody. And the beautiful part about this, Wes, is that you can control it. You can control growth in all three of those areas.
Yeah.
Your character, you can build your character. You can increase your capacity of loving people and compassion, and you can increase the content to get to know it better. Experience is the best teacher, but to rehearse it, to go over and over it, to understand why you say what you say. And the beautiful part about ethos or the speaker is you can control that.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to From Busy to Rich. If you're listening and something sparks a question or you just want to explore these ideas further, visit us at wesyounglive.com or email us at info@wesyounglive.com. You'll find free resources, tools, and ways to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
There's so much richness in that, Randy, and I want to come back to a couple things you said there. Um, when we're talking about that body language, tone of voice,
Yeah,
that authenticity, that builds that, can I trust you? Do you care for me personally? You once said something to me. Love is communicated through the air. You really can't fake it. You can be clever for a while, but love always manifests itself in the long run, and sometimes shorter run than others. Can you speak deeper into that one piece?
yeah. Mindy, our daughter, said, I think that I've got the definition of love. She said, I think when I'm sitting with John David, her husband now, at the time they were going together, she said, we can sit and we can be comfortable and we can know and feel each other because love is communicated through the air. I think every man knows that when he comes home at night and his wife has had a very bad, terrible, no good day, and he opens the front door, he knows immediately that something may be wrong. There's tension in the air. If you go into a meeting and people are not saying any words, but they're saying a lot, there's a sense of tension or stress in the air. And I really believe that the whole idea of nonverbal, the way I view it from a communication standpoint, is what I call a communications rocket. At the top of the rocket is a payload. That's your content. But to get it out of gravitational pull, because we live in such a society with so many messages, it's going to take power to get it off the launch pad. Well, what gets the content or the payload off the launch pad, or the logos, if you will, would be the ethos and the pathos, manifested in tone of voice and body language. The interesting thing is, many years ago, they did a research study on breaking down those three elements of uh, logos at the top, then pathos and ethos that form the fuel to get the rocket out of gravitational pull. And here's what they determined, and the percentages, even in the technology of today, especially today, remains about the same. In order to add up the percentages of each one of those three that lead to 100% believability, it's 7% on the top of the rocket, 57% uh, tone of voice, 36% body language, totaling 100% called congruency that would lead to believability. Here's the issue, though. Once it gets out of gravitational pull, what happens to the bottom of the jet, or the rocket rather, is that it jettisons. And so the 7%, once it gets into orbit, becomes 100%.
It's fascinating to me. As you know, we teach a class to advisors on our approach of doing this work, and people who want to move from more of a transactional type of
Mm-hmm.
approach to more of a transformational type approach. We always say what we are is curators of human flourishing at the
That's
end of the
good.
day.
I like it.
And so how do we curate to human flourishing? And one big thing that we see in both of those areas that you mentioned is you have really intelligent people that have learned a lot of things. And when they go into a meeting, what they're delivering is a lot of what and not a lot of why.
That's
They're
correct.
talking a lot about the stuff,
Yeah.
but not enough about the how does this fit in their story of this person's life. And when we're coaching on that, there is a pattern and a process I think you can follow that sets you up for higher level of probability of success there. But then I always make a offer to everyone that's in the class, and so you'll have 50 to 75 people on these
Mhm.
webinars, and they're live. And I say, listen, this is a personal like promise I will make to you, because how you'll get good at this is you have to do it, but you record yourself doing it. And I tell them, record yourself on a Loom video,
Mm-hmm.
send it to me. I will personally watch it, but here's what I want you to do before you send it to me. I want you to watch it with sound only to start, and I want you to listen to yourself. Do you have a lot of pause words? Do you have a lot of those kind of things? Do you sound awkward? Do you sound nervous? Do you sound what are the things you notice about yourself, and where do you see yourself as strong? Then I want you to watch it with only no sound and only visual.
Good.
What are your mannerisms doing? Do you do stuff with weird with your hands? Do you have a tick? Do you have these things? And tell me what those are. Just outline three. We don't need to cover the book, but outline three in each of those areas and what you think you did well. And yeah, I'll tell you of the offer, and I've made this. We taught almost 1,000 plus people through our course now. 2%. Those 2% that do it though, Randy, they become absolute rock stars because
Yeah.
they are getting over they're doing the work on themselves. What are some of the things that you know that can help people with these things, these first two parts?
Well, I think that it moves, and it's a good transition into the second aspect of the communication process, and that is what you're talking about. How do you deliver the message? When I teach communications, I basically say how you say it is ethos, pathos, and logos. It's the mood that you project, it's the tone of voice, it's the message behind the message, it's how you say it, uh, which is the key. Uh, because again, you're talking about love communicating through the air, and it's a nonverbal thing. People sense whether or not there's sincerity behind that, there's authenticity behind that, whether your words matter. And so I teach that the how you say it is ethos, pathos, and logos. The what you say is the other side of the coin, and that would be organization, language, and delivery. Organization gives you a sense of power. Uh, Most people set up mental housekeeping in a revolving door. I'm convinced of it. You have one message to give. We're going to talk about that in a second. When you give the message, is it clear? Is it accurate? Is it relevant? There's three yardsticks to measure your organization: clarity, accuracy, and relevancy. And if those three things are not there, you're not going to be organized. You're going to be all over the map. You're going to have several tributaries. You're not going to have one river that flows, one theme, one big idea. And the problem is you got too much too soon, and people get brain clutter. So you've got to have a message that is easy to understand. People will sense that you love them when they sense that you understand them. It's true with women. If If you say, how do you know your husband look? Because he understands or he attempts to understand. Same thing. I don't understand women at all, but you attempt to understand. So the point is that uh, what you're talking about is extremely important because they're working to become what I call, and this is important, a first brain communicator versus a second brain communicator. What I mean by first brain communicator is that the words you learned earliest in life have the strongest force and power. Why? Because our limbic system in the brain, the central part of our brain, was developed first. Well, guess what the limbic system understands? Emotion. And so the old adage, you buy an emotion, justify with fact, is a lot of truth to that. When you are hitting a kaleidoscope of emotion in the first brain, you want to be a first brain communicator. You want to be elected to office, become a first brain communicator. So basically, when you have a likability factor that goes on, people like you, they open a little gate in the limbic system and they go to the cerebral cortex, which basically says, now you can reason with me because I like you. So the second brain is the reasoning part, or if you will, the left side of the brain. The right side of the brain deals with the emotion part, and you got to have both. But the question is, which comes first? Likability, and then they'll listen to the message that you have. And so people want to become a first brain communicator. You say, well, how do you do that? Here's how you do it. Here's how the message comes across where you have people that work hard on these three areas. First of all, they're really, really good with names. Why? Because you learn names during the first part of your life. Your name was extremely important to you. The name of a person, biblically and otherwise, is extremely important. The question is, do you remember names? It's that simple. Remembering names is directly proportionate to how far you're going to get in business and in life and in the church, etc. Secondly, do you tell narratives or stories very well? Do you have windows in your presentation? Stories, kids love stories. Guess what? So do adults. You use short words and short sentences. You know what proves that? The Bible proves that. Let's take the Psalms, for example, 150 Psalms in the book. What's the most popular of all the Psalms? Everybody will say, if they have a cursory knowledge of the scripture, Psalm 23. Well, guess what? Psalm 23 has 106 words. 90 have one syllable. Plus, the words are colorful. Green pastures, banquet table. There's graphic design that you imprint a visual on the brain. And so short words and short sentences, narratives or stories, and a remembering of names will make you much better at the area of first brain communication, especially stories. You can't have too many good pitchers in the bullpen. Well, I'll tell you what, you can't have too many good stories in your repertoire either. Stories win because they paint pictures on the canvas of the mind. So, what I'm talking about here is that the message itself is extremely important, but the kings and queens today that win are people that can tell narratives. They can tell stories. And of course, the greatest storyteller ever lived was Jesus. But great storytellers are elected to office. They remember names. Bill Clinton, for example, never forgot a name in his life, and he could tell a great story. People that are second brain communication people, and you can name them, are now strewn in the gutters of politicians that have lost. Uh, I mean, they go down deep and they stay down long, but they don't move people to action.
It reminds me so much of years, that is, this 20 years ago probably, you had recommended a book and then a series of them written by Andy Stanley,
Right.
and one of them was a book called Communicating for a Change.
That's it. That's a great book. Very
And
good
great
book.
book. And the big idea, the premise of much of it was built around why do they need to know it? What do they need to know? the one thing they need to know, not the
That's
20,
right.
not the 75 points. What do they need to do? Why do they need to do it? And what can I give them to help them remember? And every time that I'm thinking about anything we're doing in our process, wherever that happens to lie with the client or in a specific topic we're going to be discussing, or I'm working with our team or other advisors on it, it always goes back to, yeah, that's great. But why do they need to know that? Build the tension around the why before you go. They care about what? Otherwise, it's like you're answering a question they haven't asked.
They haven't asked. That's right. Well, you're outstanding in your phrase making ability. And what I've understood as you've given quotes out, you will have phrases that stick, and you have a stickability about your communication that's really good. You have an amazing memory. The canon of memory and communication is extremely important. And that's what first brain communicators know. They know they have to have a good memory to be able to come across strongly, remember what you said, uh, pick back up with a conversation that took place earlier. They have a sense of wisdom about them, but they have insight because 80% of life is in the gray. The Christian life is navigating the gray,
Yeah.
basically. And so there's 20% black and white. If we just obeyed the 20%, we'd be in good shape. That's what we don't do anyway. But most of life, the thousands of decisions that are continually bombarding us, takes wisdom. And that's why great communicators are wise communicators. They don't use a whole lot of words. Their words are on target.
And I do love the short words and short sentence. The benefit of that for me is I was a C student in school, and so that was all I had. So I did that naturally anyway, just short words, short sentences, because I was out of gas. So it's been very
Well,
helpful and usable in this framework.
I had a professor that said, always put your cookies on the lower shelf. That way the lambs can come to feed and the giraffes can always bend their necks. And what he meant by that was uh, God must have loved average people and made enough of them. And put your cookies on the lower shelf. I mean, the heart of genius is simplicity. It just is. And it people don't want to have over conclusions for them, but they want to understand what you're saying. And adults are excellent paying attention to paying attention. They don't want to be embarrassed. And so they'll act like they know what they're doing. They have no idea what you're talking about.
In our business, and you know him or know of him. I don't know. You may know him now. You've been around a while, so it could be true. The uh, guy named Bed Feldman back in the day, who was in our business, just did things that no one else did.
Yeah.
He's long since passed away, but he had a statement, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit because it speaks to the heart of like a lot of what we're talking about here. He said, "We come into this business in a state of starry-eyed enthusiasm, and then we educate ourselves to a place of sophisticated confusion.
Oh, that's good.
And the best in the world, they arrive and continually strive to get to that place of mature simplicity."
Yeah, that's really true. I think we need to give people the conclusions and not the confusions. A man named Mike Ullman, who 5 CEO assignments in companies, is with the Lord now in heaven. But Mike and I would meet on leadership and communication, and we would just bounce back and forth. And he said, leaders can be wrong. They make tough decisions, but one thing leaders cannot be is confusing. And he said that the key to leadership is clarity. The number one thing is you must be clear. And I've never forgotten that. Great leaders, he said, have a sense of optimism because they believe the future will be brighter with them at the helm. They have a sense of optimism, they have a sense of humility, but they have a deep sense of clarity. And that goes to the message itself. If you need to be a river, not a swamp. And a lot of people think if some's good, more is better. It's just not true.
I love that, and I know I promised you a certain time frame here, and you were gracious to give it to me. I do want to kind of end with just a couple of questions that I had for you around
Sure.
the idea of, you are now in a place where you've lived such an incredible life. You've done so many good things, always very purpose driven in what you did. And years ago, you had told me a story that you'd heard about Billy Graham, and it was really, it put a lot of things in a very different perspective for me. And I think it'd be helpful as our listeners, because we have listeners that are they're 2 years in, they're 20 years in, they're all kinds of different phases of life here. And sometimes just life has a way of we get focused on things that really are not as big a deal as maybe they we make them out to be at the time. We suffer unnecessarily because of the stories that we're telling ourselves. And you told me what Billy said when he was right near, I think near the end of his life, when he said they asked him, was there anything that surprised him most about life? And he paused and he said one word. He said brevity. It's brevity. And would you speak into that?
The thing that strikes me about the scripture is that life is brief. It says life flies by, it's but a vapor. It's like sparks that fly upward from a campfire and then they're gone. Life is compared to a flower. It blooms and then fades away. Uh, and the thing about life is that it is so amazingly short. Um, I've right now I've got stage 4 cancer. I want to live life out as strong as I can uh, with impact. And the thing about death is that it focuses you. It allows you to say these are the priorities. And so I will not have that much longer to live. Uh, and that's okay. I know how this story ends. Uh, I know the war is over. The battles are always ahead for everybody. But to live as Christ and to die as gain. And I really believe that. One of the things that has kept me steady is when the scripture says that I've been bought with a price, that I'm not my own. That's absolutely true. And so the attitude that I have is, God, this is your body. You can do anything with it you want. But I know this, I'm not going to die any sooner or any later than I'm intended. My days are numbered. I'm to present to you a heart of wisdom. And I've told my oncologist, I said, this is my whole philosophy. I'm to do what I can do, be responsible, do the research, have the mind of Christ, do what you can do, and then relax because the future is fixed. I'm the walk and good work set before me. They've already been set before me. I'm not going to die 1 minute sooner, 1 minute later. I have an assignment. I have an appointment with death. The scripture says, I'm not going to miss that appointment. And so where my faith comes in is somewhere between be responsible and do what you can do and know the future is fixed. And it's called relaxed. And that's where my faith comes in because being responsible is my responsibility. The future is fixed, it's God's sovereignty. And it's the best combination I know about how to live this life now as I'm coming around the home stretch. And so life is brief. And and you know, uh, the best advice I could give anybody listening to this is just inquire of the Lord. Ask him 2 questions. What do you want me to know? And what do you want me to do? And that pretty well wraps it up. He'll tell you. Just give him a chance to talk to you. My sheep hear my voice and I know them. He'll talk to you. He'll let you know.
That's awesome, Randy. I don't know any way better to end it than there. And man, just such a always a joy to be with you. And personally, just super grateful for all the things that you continue to do and impart in me. And man, I love getting to spend time with you. And I'm super both inspired every time we talk and also challenged by what you say. And I just look forward to continuing to do exactly like you just said. What do you want me to do?
And
And
what do you want
you
me to
know,
know and what do you want me to do about
yeah,
it?
what do you want to
Yeah.
know? What do you want me to do? And then listen.
And then listen. And it says, the people that messed up in the Bible were the ones that did not inquire of the Lord. The ones
Yeah,
that inquired of the Lord did just fine. It's that
yeah.
simple. We don't ask. And he'll tell you. He'll guide you into all truth. Believe me, he will. So just lean on that and go for it. Do the best you can with what you got wherever you are. I mean, that's basically it. He doesn't need us, and he doesn't need our money, and he doesn't need but he wants a relationship with us. He sure does. And so thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Randy.
You bet. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for tuning in to From Busy to Rich. If something in today's episode sparked an idea or hit a nerve, don't keep it to yourself. Follow the show, share it with a friend, and let's keep building a community of advisors who want more. You can find more resources, tools, and free content at wesyounglive.com. We'll see you back here next time for more real conversations about building the life and business you really want.